The morning sun gleamed on the runway as a luxury private jet prepared for takeoff, silver, sleek, and surrounded by wealth. But the air turned cold when three young black girls stepped toward it, dressed neatly, holding their tickets with pride. The flight attendant's polite smile twisted into disgust. Within minutes, whispers began, and orders followed. Cruel, humiliating orders no one should ever hear. The girls were told to clean the jet's floor, and even polish passengers' shoes with their tongues. Cameras recorded. Laughter filled the terminal. No one could have imagined that within the hour, their father's arrival would expose a truth so powerful it would destroy the entire airline. Hit that, like, and subscribe, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The day had started with excitement. The Thompson triplets, Ava, Aria, and Amira, were flying for the first time on a private jet. Their father, a quiet and humble businessman, had arranged the flight as a surprise gift for their mother's birthday. The girls had no idea their father was one of the most powerful aviation executives in the country. He rarely spoke about his success, teaching them instead to stay humble, kind, and respectful to everyone. At the private terminal, the girls arrived early, dressed simply but elegantly. They carried small handbags and a box of cupcakes they planned to share with the crew, a gesture of gratitude. But the moment they entered the lounge, the atmosphere shifted. The receptionist's eyes flicked up and down, scanning them from head to toe. Her tone, cold and sharp, didn't match her words. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked, glancing toward the door as if expecting someone else to follow. When Ava handed over their boarding passes, the woman frowned. "This flight is reserved for executive clients only." The triplets exchanged nervous looks. "That's us," Amira replied softly, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Whispers began to spread among the passengers waiting nearby. A man in a suit chuckled under his breath. A woman whispered, "Maybe they're here to clean, not to fly." Minutes later, the flight attendant approached, her expression already hardened. "We can't have confusion here," she said curtly. "If you're staff, please wait outside until the real passengers arrive." The triplets stood frozen. The laughter around them grew louder, sharper. What was meant to be a joyful memory was quickly turning into a nightmare they'd never forget. Before the triplets could explain, the flight attendant, a tall woman named Clara, crossed her arms and smirked. "Let me guess," she said mockingly. "You're here to serve refreshments, right? Because we don't allow unregistered people boarding private flights." Ava's voice cracked. "We're passengers. Our dad booked the flight for us." Clara laughed out loud. "Oh, really? And who's your dad? The janitor?" Her words sliced through the air. The crowd around them chuckled, some recording the scene on their phones. The humiliation burned through the girl's chest. Still, they refused to cry. Aria, the boldest of the three, tried to stay calm. "Please check the booking." "It's under Mr. Daniel Thompson." But Clara waved her hand dismissively. "Don't waste my time, sweetheart. Now be useful. Clean up the waiting area or go wait outside." The final straw came when Clara pointed at the floor. "Or better yet, shine my shoes while you're here. With your tongue, might even get them clean enough for a real client." Gasps filled the lounge. Even some passengers who had laughed earlier were now silent. The triplets froze, not out of fear, but out of disbelief. How could someone be this cruel? Just then, the sound of firm footsteps echoed through the terminal. A deep, authoritative voice broke the silence. "Clara," the man said coldly, "is this how you treat our guests?" Everyone turned. It was Daniel Thompson, the girl's father, wearing a crisp black suit and a look that could silence a storm. The receptionist's face went pale. Clara stiffened, her arrogance evaporating in an instant. "Sir, I didn't realize," she stammered. Daniel stepped forward, his gaze like steel. "No, you didn't realize. because you didn't care. He turned toward his daughters, gently placing a hand on Ava's shoulder. You okay, sweetheart? She nodded, trembling slightly. Daniel turned back to Clara. You just insulted my daughters, and they happen to be the heirs of the airline that pays your salary. The room went dead silent. Every phone stopped recording. Clara's knees nearly buckled. Clara's mouth fell open, her face drained of color. I didn't know, sir. I thought they were... Daniel cut her off sharply. You thought? You assumed that because they're black, they couldn't possibly belong on a private jet? His voice was calm but cold enough to chill the room. That's not ignorance, Clara. That's arrogance mixed with prejudice. The entire terminal stood still. Even the pilots waiting nearby had their eyes glued to the confrontation. Daniel turned to the manager, who had been watching nervously from the back. Get me the head of operations. Now. Within moments, 2 senior executives arrived, both confused until they saw Daniel's expression. Mr. Thompson, one said nervously, what's going on? What's going on? Daniel said, his tone measured but thunderous beneath the surface. Is that your staff just publicly humiliated my daughters. They mocked them, recorded them, and demanded they clean shoes to earn their right to fly. Gasps erupted again. Clara tried to speak, but Daniel raised a hand. Save your apology. It's not me you owe anything to. He turned toward his daughters. Girls, what do you think we should do? Ava took a deep breath. Fire her, Dad. Not because she insulted us, but because she'll do it again to someone who can't defend themselves. Arya added quietly. And make sure those videos never see the light of day. Daniel nodded. Done. He turned to the executives. Effective immediately, this employee is terminated. Every recording from this incident, deleted. And I expect a full statement of apology to my daughters, publicly and internally. Clara fell to her knees, tears rolling down her cheeks. Please, Mr. Thompson. I have a family. I didn't mean... Daniel's eyes softened slightly. You didn't mean to be racist? Or you didn't mean to get caught? The room was silent. He exhaled deeply. Let this be a lesson. Power doesn't come from money or skin color. It comes from character. And today you showed none. He took his daughter's hands and led them toward their jet. As they boarded, the entire staff, from the pilots to the ground crew, stood in humbled silence. When the doors closed, Daniel looked out the window at the stunned crowd below and whispered, Never let them make you feel small for who you are. The jet ascended through the golden clouds, leaving behind the chaos on the runway. Inside, the air was still, heavy with reflection and quiet pride. The 3 sisters sat beside their father, finally allowing the weight of what had happened to sink in. Ava looked down at her trembling hands. Dad, why does this still happen? Why do people hate us for something we didn't choose? Daniel smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried both pain and wisdom. Because some hearts, he said, are too small to see beyond skin. But that's not our burden to carry. It's theirs to fix. He paused, gazing out the window as the sun painted the sky in brilliant orange and gold. What matters, he continued, is how we respond. With dignity, with strength, and by never letting their hate make us hate ourselves. Down below, the airline's reputation began to crumble. Within days, the video leaked online, but not in the way Clara expected. It wasn't the humiliation that went viral. It was Daniel's powerful response. The world saw a father who refused to let racism break his family spirit. Hashtags trended, news outlets picked it up, and millions praised the calm yet commanding way he handled injustice. Clara's name was released, but Daniel did something unexpected. He refused to press charges. Instead, he requested the Airline Fund, a scholarship program for underprivileged black students pursuing aviation. "If we can turn hate into opportunity," he told the press, "then maybe we're doing something right." The story became a symbol of power, resilience, and grace. Proof that true class isn't defined by wealth, but by the way one treats others. As the jet soared higher, Arya rested her head on her father's shoulder and whispered, "I'm proud to be your daughter." Daniel smiled. "And I'm proud that the world saw who you really are, not what they assumed." If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video to remind the world that racism only loses when love and dignity rise higher than hate.